I used to think that when a marriage collapsed, it did so with yelling, slammed doors, and shattered dishes. But mine? It disintegrated quietly. Tessa and I had been married 5 years. We weren't flawless, but I believed we were steady. The first changes were barely noticeable. She began staying up late, eyes fixed on her phone. I'd wake up in the middle of the night to see the glow of the screen lighting up her face, her thumbs darting across it. When I asked what was so funny, she'd shrug and say, "Just a meme," then flip the phone over, screen down. She once showed me everything. Lately, I had to ask just to be included. One Saturday morning, I made her coffee, 2 sugars, no cream, just the way she liked, and set it on the table in front of her. She didn't glance up, just mumbled, "Thanks," while continuing to scroll. I sat across from her. "You've been glued to that screen a lot lately." She gave a half-hearted shrug. "Group chat's been nuts." I asked, "Anything I'd get a laugh out of?" She paused before replying, "Probably not." That was a shift. Tessa used to beg me to read her friends' ridiculous texts. Now it felt like I'd been quietly shut out. I tried to brush it off. People get distracted. Life gets hectic. I had plenty going on myself, work piling up, endless deadlines. I chalked it up to burnout on both sides. But things kept drifting. She started canceling our date nights, claimed she wasn't feeling well. Then I'd see a fresh selfie with Kendra show up online an hour later. She'd bought new outfits, changed up her hair, and spent more and more time outrunning errands that seemed endless. One night she swept past me, heels clicking, lipstick bold, said she was off to a professional mixer. Tessa's a dental hygienist. Networking events didn't really fit that profession. But I smiled anyway, wished her fun. That was my pattern. I kept acting like everything was fine because I didn't have proof. Not yet. One Wednesday evening, we were supposed to be watching a movie. I was watching anyway. Tessa barely looked at the screen. Her eyes stayed on her phone, hands moving under the blanket. I glanced her way. "Not into the movie?" Without looking up, she replied, "Just multitasking." I joked, "Texting your other husband?" Her head jerked up, her eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" I raised my hand, smiling. "Just kidding. Chill." She didn't laugh, didn't even crack a smile. She just looked at me for a second, then turned her attention back to her screen. That stuck with me, how sharp her reaction was. I'd made jokes like that before. She usually laughed or rolled her eyes. This time, it felt like I'd hit too close to home. Later that night, while she was brushing her teeth, her phone lit up beside me on the armrest. I wasn't snooping. It just caught my eye. A preview flashed, short but unmistakable. A message from someone named Dylan. I remember that moment clearly. I didn't reach for the phone, didn't lean over. I just sat there, staring at that message, like it was in a language I didn't want to understand. Tessa walked back in, grabbed her phone without saying a word, and climbed into bed. She never noticed I hadn't moved. I lay beside her for hours, eyes open, listening as message after message arrived, while she laughed quietly at whatever lit up her screen. That night, something inside me gave way. I didn't confront her, didn't argue. I wasn't ready to hear another half-truth, another lie blaming it on Kendra or some made-up dinner. Whatever facade she thought she was maintaining ended with that message. She wasn't going to tell me the truth, so I decided I'd find it myself. When she finally fell asleep, her face turned away, one arm stretched across the sheets. I picked up her phone and unlocked it. I already knew the passcode. I'd watched her enter it enough times. I went through everything. Messages, apps, notifications, folders, every place I could think of, but there was nothing. No texts from Dylan, no conversation history, nothing at all. She'd wiped it. I sat there in the dark, holding that empty phone, knowing I'd reached a dead end. That's when I realized I needed help. The next morning, I called Mason. We'd been close since our college days. He was the guy everyone leaned on when tech went sideways, laptops crashing, accounts getting locked, data disappearing. I didn't explain the whole situation, just asked if he could recover deleted messages, maybe find something in a backup. He didn't press me. Sure, he said. Just send me whatever logins you've got. Google, iCloud, any backup services. I'll take care of it. I already knew most of her login credentials. Tessa had a habit of cycling through the same trio of passwords for all her accounts. She once joked that I was her contingency plan in case she ever got locked out of her online world. That evening, I forwarded Mason exactly what he needed. An hour later, a text came through from him. You'll want to see this. I drove over in complete silence, gripping the wheel so tightly it felt like the only thing anchoring me. In his study, we sat without speaking as the files loaded up. He just sipped his coffee while lines of messages filled the screen. I reached for the mouse and began scrolling. I read every message, every heart emoji, every photo. But this wasn't harmless flirting. It was mockery. She told Dylan that I still saw myself as the ideal husband. She said lying to me had become so effortless, it was practically boring. One message seared itself into my brain. Ryan's the safest guy I know. I could live a full double life, and he'd still bring me coffee in the morning. Dylan's reply. Kinda sounds like you already are. They laughed at everything, my routines, my habits, how I refold towels, how I double-check the locks at night. She even snapped a photo of me asleep, captioned, Mr. Predictable in his natural habitat. But I didn't rage. I just went cold. Mason turned toward me and asked, So what now? I closed the laptop. Nothing. Not yet. Because now I finally saw what I was really dealing with, and I was done playing fair. That night, something inside me flipped. I gave up trying to repair anything. I stopped analyzing her words, her tone, the pauses between sentences. I simply observed, and Tessa remained oblivious. She still kissed me goodbye each morning, still asked if I needed anything while she was out, still gave me that polite, distant smile like we were play-acting our marriage. But I wasn't pretending anymore. I was counting down. She started talking about a weekend trip, a dental conference in Tampa, she said. I didn't question it, just nodded and said, Sounds important. But I knew better. Tampa was a smokescreen. Dylan would be there. She'd even used her maiden name to book the flight. That's how careless she'd gotten. She never thought I'd go digging through her emails. While she packed stilettos and silk sleepwear, I was preparing too. I rented a small storage unit nearby and quietly moved out items she wouldn't miss. Off-season clothes, old books, my guitar, the watch my father had left me. I made sure the closet still looked untouched, rearranged hangers, kept the illusion intact. At night, while she fell asleep with a faint smile, probably thinking of him, I lay next to her making mental checklists, financial accounts, legal steps, backups. I transferred my savings into a separate bank account, removed my name from joint bills, paused my share of every subscription, even the Amazon account she used daily. I hired Monica, a calm, highly regarded attorney who laid everything out for me in clear steps. No drama, no scenes, just a silent, strategic exit executed at the perfect time. That Friday, she left for her so-called seminar. On her way out, she kissed my cheek. Try not to burn the place down, she joked. I smiled back. Can't promise. Once the elevator doors closed, I walked into the bedroom, opened the closet, and retrieved an envelope labeled with her name. Inside, the divorce documents, uncontested. I tucked them neatly into her drawer, right on top of her folded sweaters. Then I flipped off the lights, picked up my duffel bag, and walked out without glancing back. Her flight was scheduled to land at 3:15 p.m. on Sunday. I knew because I still had access to her itinerary. At 3:17, she texted, Landing soon. Craving Thai? By then, I was long gone. The apartment had been stripped of everything that mattered to me. Documents, electronics, sentimental keepsakes, all gone. What I left behind was meaningless, just static, things she'd assume I still cared about. The only thing I made sure she would notice was the envelope I placed on the kitchen counter, topped with a yellow sticky note that read exactly what it looks like. Then I sent her one final message. Check the kitchen. I powered down the phone and slid it into the drawer of my new apartment. Out of sight. Out of reach. At 5:22 p.m., the apartment's landline rang. Hardly anyone had that number. It was Monica. She received the paperwork, she said. Tried calling the office 3 times. By 6 o'clock, I turned my phone back on. The notifications lit up exactly as I had anticipated. Ryan, where are you? I just got home. What is this? Is this for real? Please call me. I didn't answer. Then came a flurry of FaceTime attempts, 6 in total. At 9:47 p.m., she sent, please, just explain what's happening. That's when I finally called. She picked up immediately. Ryan? Her voice was shaking. I didn't yell, didn't raise my tone. You'll figure it out, I said. It's all there. Wait, Ryan. I ended the call, then I powered off the phone again. That was the last time I ever heard her voice, not because she stopped reaching out, but because I made the decision to never answer again. By Monday, Tessa was unraveling. My work phone showed 8 missed calls, and my inbox was overflowing with messages. She even sent me a LinkedIn message, as if professionalism could somehow erase betrayal. I ignored it all. That evening, she showed up outside. From my second-floor window, I watched her stand in the parking lot, scanning the doors like she didn't know which one belonged to me. Her phone was in one hand, car keys dangling in the other. She looked diminished, not physically, but emotionally, like the fire that once defined her had burned out. I don't know how she figured out where I lived. Maybe it was a stray package, maybe someone slipped, or maybe she just drove around until she spotted my car. Eventually, she made her way to my door and knocked, firm at first, then lighter. Ryan, she called softly, please open the door. I didn't move. I sat motionless on the couch, lights off, just listening to her muffled voice through the wood. I don't get what this is, she said. If you needed time, you could have told me. We could have figured something out. We still can. She paused, waiting. She knocked again. Then silence. Then came the question I knew was coming. Is this about Dylan? It was the first time she said his name aloud. I can explain, she went on. It wasn't a big deal. I swear, Ryan, it was stupid. It's over. It meant nothing. Another pause, thick with anticipation. You were distant, she added. I didn't know how to reach you. I needed to feel seen, and you just weren't there. That one actually made me laugh under my breath. Still, she continued. I messed up, okay? One mistake, and now you're making it into... That's when I got up and opened the door. She froze. Tessa looked at me like she didn't recognize the man standing in front of her. Maybe she didn't. I didn't yell. I didn't point fingers. I looked her in the eye and said, with complete calm, this wasn't just one mistake. It was dozens, maybe even hundreds. What changed was that I stopped pretending not to notice. Her mouth opened, maybe to justify, maybe to beg, but I closed the door before she could get a word out. Locked it. Walked away. After that, the tone of her messages changed. The pleading was gone. What followed had an edge, sharp, defensive, angry. So this is your idea of handling things? Running away like a child? Grow up, Ryan. Seriously. You're not hurting me. You just look pathetic. I read them all, replied to none. 2 days later, Rachel, her closest friend, texted me out of nowhere. She's a mess. Dylan cut her off completely, deleted everything. I've never seen her this wrecked. I said nothing. Tessa hadn't just lost me. She lost the man she gambled our marriage on, the one who only liked her when she wasn't his. Once the thrill was gone, so was he. Within a week, she was back in the apartment we once shared, alone. I'd given her 60 days to move out, just like the agreement said. But in the end, she couldn't afford to stay. She turned to mutual friends, rewriting the story. Ryan left. It wasn't cheating, not really. Just some texts, she claimed. But people talk. Screenshots linger. By the end of the month, even her friends had stopped picking up. Tessa's life went from social brunches and weekend getaways to cold nights in her sister's basement. She applied for a loan, got denied, turned to her mother for help. Meanwhile, I was waking up with a peace I hadn't known in years. Being alone didn't feel empty. It felt clear. No tension, no anxiety. Just mornings that didn't begin with walking on glass and nights that didn't end in silence. I threw myself into work, picked up running again, reached out to people I'd pushed away during the slow decay of our marriage. I wasn't fixing a broken life. I was finally building a new one. Then one Friday, Mason messaged me. She's back on dating apps. Word is, the dates are disasters. I responded, that's not my problem anymore. And it truly wasn't. 3 months slipped by. Then, just after midnight one night, her name popped up on my screen. I didn't pick up, but I did read the message. Ryan, I'm sorry, I was an idiot. I didn't know what I had until it was gone. Please, can we talk? She had attached an old photo, us on the Charleston Pier 2 years back. I was holding her hand. She leaned into me, smiling like she meant it. I stared at it for a few seconds. I didn't feel anger or longing, just clarity. We were done. I deleted the message. No reply. Tessa used to mock me behind my back, called me boring, soft, clueless. She figured I was the kind of man who'd never walk away, that I didn't have it in me. That was her mistake. I never begged, never pleaded, never slammed a door for effect. I just let her show me who she really was. And I walked away, completely, quietly, permanently. People think strength is about the blow-up, the yelling, the dramatic exit, the grand finale. But real strength? It's the quiet decision to leave with your head high and your pride untouched. I never looked back, never checked on her again, because I was finally okay, and that was enough.